What is the best basic uncommon magic item in all of D&D 5th edition? In my opinion, there's only one candidate, the Immovable Rod. Coming in at spot number 20, the Immovable Rod is truly an iconic magic item. And at first glance, this magic item looks so incredibly simple. As an action, the rod fixes itself in place. It can hold up to 8,000 pounds and can only be moved up to 10 feet on a DC 30 strength check. For creative players, the Immovable Rod is a dream item. It can hold doors closed, rip open the stomachs of monsters that have consumed you, act as a makeshift climbing tool. The Immovable Rod is limited only by your imagination. And an item of this power becomes even more ridiculous when you realize it doesn't require attunement. There is no reason not to pick up this powerful magic item. But moving on from the Immovable Rod, coming in at 19th place is the Defender Sword. Defender is a +3 sword. Sometimes. Because when you first attack on each one of your turns, you can decide whether that +3 goes into your attack rolls with the sword, your AC, or a mix of the two. I love this item because it's incredibly adaptable depending on the situations of a character. However, it can drastically affect how you balance encounters. A regular paladin with plate armor and a shield in the defensive fighting style can easily get an AC of 24 or higher when they're wielding Defender. This one item can output brutal amounts of damage while also increasing the tanking ability of a character. Having seen multiple characters from rogues to fighters to paladins pick up a Defender sword, I can well and truly say that this has a massive impact on your D&D sessions. So give this sword its due, and that's why Defender is coming in at spot number 19 on the list. Now coming in at spot number 18 is the big brother of the Staff of Power, the Staff of the Magi. Simply put, this is just a better Staff of the Magi. It gives you advantage on saving throws against spells while also being able to absorb some of those spells, and in addition to that, having a huge arsenal of spells that you can cast with this staff. This is the pinnacle of a spellcaster's staff in 5th edition. A character outfitted with the Staff of the Magi can easily go toe-to-toe with anything you have to offer, and they will instantly outshine any other spellcasters that are within the party. Giving a character the Staff of the Magi instantly makes them the best spellcaster in any 50-mile radius. Any spellcasting character has nothing to fear while wielding the Staff of the Magi, which is why it comes in at 18th place. And at 17th place is the best way to travel through the planes. It's the Cubic Gate. The Cubic Gate is very simple. With its 6 sides, it allows you to travel through different planes of existence as decided on by the GM. You can transport you and other creatures around you there via either a gate spell or a plane shift spell. This item has so much role-playing potential and really opens up the Dungeon Master's world. However, its power is not to be trifled with. Being able to cast Plane Shift with a save DC of 17 can be a get-out-of-jail-free card for a lot of parties, especially because there are many enemies without a great charisma save. Or on the other hand, the party can use this item to duck out of pretty much any fight that they want. Or they can bounce back and forth from up to 6 different planes, which is a lot of work on a Dungeon Master's part. This is one of those items that has the capacity to completely overwhelm a new Dungeon Master in a D&D game, or make obstacles present in a story completely meaningless. I can't tell you exactly how, but whenever planeswalking starts to get involved in a D&D adventure, things get weird. And the Cubic Gate is almost certainly going to make your D&D games a little bit weirder. So Dungeon Masters, beware. This is an incredibly powerful magical item, and that's why it's here at spot 17. Now, have you ever faced an enemy that's evil in D&D 5th edition? Oh, you have? Well, if you were wielding the Talisman of Pure Good, that enemy would be shaking in their boots. The item coming in at 16th place is very simple. This legendary item can only be attuned to by a creature of the good alignment. It can act as a holy symbol for clerics and paladins and grants a +2 bonus to spell attack rolls. This talisman has 7 charges. As an action, you can use a charge to target a creature of an evil alignment within 120 feet of you. If that creature fails a DC 20 dexterity saving throw, it's destroyed. It literally just falls into a hole and it dies. This is an instant kill button. This item will straight up wreck your D&D game if you are not careful. Your players will roll up on your BBEG and murder them. I don't care if the dragon has 3 legendary resistances. The Talisman of Pure Good can overcome it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. If an evil creature fails that save, they are destroyed, leaving no remains. The Talisman of Pure Good is an absolute monster of an item. Now the reason why its counterpart, the Talisman of Ultimate Evil, doesn't make this list is because unless you're playing in an evil campaign, the amount of good aligned creatures you're going to be fighting is usually pretty small. It's just not as useful. You're going to be fighting evil creatures a lot more than you're going to be fighting good creatures, which is why the Talisman of Pure Good is here and the Talisman of Ultimate Evil is unfortunately left off the list. Next up though, at spot number 15 is the Mantle of Spell Resistance. This is a very simple magic item. It gives you advantage on all saving throws against spells while you're wearing this cloak. Why is it so high? Because it's only a rare item. It's not unlikely that you can find this item early in an adventure, and flat advantage against all spell saves is so good. It doesn't matter if you're a martial character, if you're a spellcaster, or if you're a hybrid, somewhere in between. This rare item has a simple yet powerful effect that can be used throughout the entirety of a campaign, which is why it comes in at spot number 15. And next up, at spot number 14, we have the Plate Armor of Etherealness. This is a regular suit of plate armor except for one feature. As an action, you can speak a command word and cast the spell Etherealness on yourself. The spell lasts for 10 minutes or until you remove the armor or use an action to speak the command word again. Why is this item so high? Well, for two reasons. Reason number one, it's an I win button on stealth encounters. The Etherealness spell allows you to walk through walls while invisible. You'll never need to worry about failing a stealth check again unless you have a creature across from you that can detect things in the ethereal plane, which is a real threat at higher levels. But for 90% of stealth encounters, the Etherealness spell is going to carry you through. This second reason goes hand in hand with the first, but the Etherealness spell is fantastic for clearing out dungeons. Being able to walk through walls and be invisible to enemies allows you to scout out what a dungeon's going to be like. No longer do you need to put the rogue in danger. And for some reason, if the character gets caught, it's a character that can wear plate armor. They have the hit points to fight their way out of that situation. The Plate Armor of Etherealness just takes care of so many weaknesses for so many martials. Therefore, I had to give it the 14th spot on this list. And next up is a simple item that I think needs no real introduction. At 13th place is the Amulet of Health. Hit points, they're what determines if we're alive or dead in D&D 5th edition. They're controlled by your Constitution score. Being able to automatically set your Constitution to 19, that's fantastic. Previously on this list, we've talked about the power of being able to set an ability score to 19. The Headband of Intellect, which affects a dump stat many consider in intelligence, cracked the top 100. The Gauntlets of Ogre Power came in at spot number 61. So you had to know that the Amulet of Health was going to take one of the top spots on the list. I think this item as well is doubly important for spellcasters, as Constitution affects your concentration saves, and already having a smaller hit die means that any additional point of health you can get is so important. However, I would be wary about giving this item out as a DM too early. It could radically shift the balance of power in your game depending on who gets this item. I once saw an Amulet of Health be given out at 3rd level, and the Wizard took it, and instantly they had more health than the Barbarian. A wizard, a spellcaster with more health than the Barbarian, the frontline tank. Needless to say, the party fell off for a long while after that. This is not an item that I would recommend giving out early at all. It is just so powerful, which is why it comes in at the 13th spot on the list. And at the 12th spot on the list is the Wand of the Warmage +3. I don't need to spend a lot of time here talking about this item. It's a +3 weapon, but for mages. Many spells that use attack rolls also come with additional effects, and many more can also be used at further distances away, allowing the actual user to do so more safely. From my personal experience, a +3 Wand of the Warmage carries the same significance as a +4, maybe even a +5 weapon. It just makes spellcasters more powerful in the place they are strongest. And for that reason, it comes in at spot number 12 on the list. And finally, the last item before we reach the top 10, the legendary Ring of Spell Turning. The Ring of Spell Turning is like the Mantle of Spell Resistance, as it gives advantage on saving throws against any spell that targets only you, so it's a bit more limited than the Mantle of Spell Resistance. However, its secondary effect is busted. If you roll a 20 on your spell save, and the spell is 7th level or lower, meaning a majority of spells, you are going to deflect that spell back at the caster. And may I remind you, you already have advantage on spell saving throws. so you're going to be rolling a lot more 20s than normal. On the right character, this item can break the game. Maybe you have a 15th level Zealot Barbarian that has the hit points of a god. Usually you'd be targeting them with certain magical spells to slow them down. Give them the Ring of Spell Turning, and that's not going to work. Heck, the enemy mage might end up feeble-minding themselves. This item is no joke and can make an epic final battle into a trivial encounter. This is an item that deserves its spot being so high on this list. But before we talk about the top 10 magic items, check out this video right here. And thank you for entering the dungeon.